Hi, I'm Shay Oliver. Welcome to the Priority Paradigm. I'm sharing stories of amazing people who've made radical changes in their lives for something more important. Today, I'm joined by Kerri-Ann Appleton, and she has a wonderful story to share with us. So without further ado, Kerri-Ann, take it away.
Thank you, Shay. I'm excited to be here. So when people ask me to tell my story, I think as I've told my story over a couple times now, I changed the start point. I think my recent, and I think partly it's my own reflection. So I'm going to start with, I want to say it was in either 2005 or 2006. I experienced my first panic attack where my boss literally found me under the water fountain in our office building.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. And here I was, like, I had a great condo in Denver, Colorado that I loved. It really created a great space for me to live in, and great, in Capitol Hill. I was working for a nonprofit I really loved. I was working like a dog. 60, 80, sometimes 100 hours a week.
Wow.
And so, my life felt really good. It was like I had great friends. I was getting to travel. I get to ski. It felt like life should be really good. Why am I having a panic attack?
Right.
So I started to go down the rabbit hole. And at first I wanted to know what was happening with me. So I started studying neuroscience and did some courses with Dr. Joe Dispenza, some of his workshops around, changing the habit of being yourself and understanding your mind and using meditation. But I didn't quite wake up to I needed a radical change. So in the next years to come, I got into a serious relationship, and I thought he was the one, but that ended drastically when he cheated on me. So that wasn't the one. Another learning lesson for me. But about 2 weeks after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant. That was a big shock to me. Quickly thereafter, I actually miscarried. So, which was really difficult, but it wasn't too emotional for me because I hadn't quite attached the idea, because I found out I was pregnant, I miscarried, and I was still going through this breakup. So instead of dealing with my feelings, what I did was I just shoved them and stuffed them somewhere and just fully threw myself into my work, because I loved doing what I was doing, impacting the world, making a difference, and just threw myself into my work. So I don't know how many years after that, I try to be, I'm always a really positive person. Generally, everyone will tell you that about me. I try to look at the bright side, look at a different perspective, be positive. But I got this really cool opportunity 5 years ago to lead a team to Brazil. And to be down here for 1 month, and this is where I am now in Brazil, but to be down here for 1 month and lead a team in kind of an English immersion program, exchange between the United States and Brazil. And it was an awesome experience. And in that experience, I started to really feel my heart open. And I thought, God, there's something about this place. And Brazil was never on my list, ever. I don't know why, because I love to travel. I think maybe because people talked about Carnival and the beaches, and I didn't want to do what everyone else does. I'm kind of like, I want to go my own way. I don't need to go backpacking through Europe, that kind of stuff. Sure. So I never had Brazil on my list, and never realized how big and diverse Brazil is, right?
Uh-huh.
But there was something about Brazil. It started to open my heart. I worked with these students that were between the ages of 15 and 19 years old. The culture here is really embracive. When you greet someone, you get 1 kiss, 2 kisses, or 3 kisses, depending on the region, on the, of the country. And that's on the cheek, by the way, not on the lips.
Sure.
Just to make sure, you're really embraced here. And when I went back to the States, I knew, I was like, there's something about Brazil and I need to go back. I really need to go back. So I was actually asked to go back about 5 months later to the northern part of Brazil. And that's the old starting point that I used to start the story from. But while I was up there, one day I woke up in my hotel bedroom and I felt like I was mourning. I couldn't stop crying. I felt so much grief come over me. And what I was starting to experience was all this emotion that I had bottled up. Grieving the relationship, grieving a miscarriage, to grieving a bunch of stuff from my past, childhood trauma. It was starting to just come to the surface. So it's kind of like you're in a pool and you're holding down all these emotions, and they're balls under the water. There's just a point where the pressure builds and you like can't do it. And it just kind of came out like a geyser. And I think for me, that was kind of my like waking moment. Like, okay, something is really not right. I'm doing all this work in yoga, meditation, neuroscience. And why am I laying in this like foreign land in a hotel bedroom sobbing? And it went on all day and I sobbed. So from there, actually, from that experience, I was up in, like I said, in the north. When I was done with that contract, I came to Rio because I thought, well, this might be my last time in Brazil. I should see Rio de Janeiro. Like, come on, you know? So I came to Rio, and no joke, within an hour of being here, I said to my friend who was with me, I have to live here.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, what? Really? Like, you see how chaotic this city is? You are an organized person. I was like, I don't know, there's something about this place, but I have to live here. And that really started my mission to live in Brazil. So through knowing that I had to be here, but not understanding why, there was something about you have to be in chaos. Even though like I'm an organized, very structured person, I like to plan things out, think things through. I needed to be in chaos and I needed to find the beauty in the chaos. I think part of that journey was I needed to like be okay with my emotions and how chaotic they're going to be, because the next 5 years were going to be this like, wow, of all these emotions I went through. So yeah, over the course of, so that was at the end of 2013 when I decided to move to Brazil. Over the course of the next year and a half, I started to make my move. I mean, I decided to sell my condo, sell all of my belongings. I mean, I'm talking about, I went through and like, I don't need all these ski trophies anymore. I'm going to keep one. I'm going to keep my senior high school yearbook and my senior college yearbook. Other than that, they can go in the trash. I really decluttered my life and started to make the move here. And while doing that, I also was doing work on myself. I started to seek a therapist to support me on my journey. And also dived more into conscious living and understanding emotions and whatnot. So now we're about a year and a half later. Literally, I've sold my car. I've sold all of my stuff. I think I have 5 boxes left back in Colorado. And I packed up my Black Labrador and I moved myself to Brazil without really knowing what I was going to do here.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't have a job. You just headed down.
So I was still doing some work for the organization that brought me here. So I had a job, but I was here I had 2 visas. I have a tourist visa and a business visa. So I wasn't working. I was still working for the company there, but negotiating business here for them. But when I first came down, I was only going to continue on for 5 more months with them. But it ended up being maybe about a year and a half, I think, more with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which was great. It was nice to have that stability. I loved what they do in terms of the program, working with bringing American community college students down to Brazil to give them a global opportunity, and working with Brazilian high school students that, majority of them have never met a foreigner, so this was like eye-opening for them to have this experience. So I loved the work and the impact. But I knew I needed to be in Brazil. And I was so grateful that the organization I worked with, called US Brazil Connect, was so supportive of my journey as well. Like, I could support them while they were supporting me, of knowing that I needed to be in Brazil and I didn't know why. So I made a radical change to leave the old behind. And I think that's been a part of my transformation, is through being here, I've just unpeeled layer after layer about myself. Old, limiting beliefs that I've had, patterns I've been living by, traumas that I didn't even remember I had, and I'm not saying it's not important to not remember them or to remember them, but I was showing up in a way in my life because of those traumas. And once I started to like unpeel the layers, I was like, I just had to heal from, as simple as my parents' divorce when I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think of that, how much of an impact that makes on a child. And it's unbelievable now. And so from doing all this work, I actually shifted my own career. I moved out of doing nonprofit management and fundraising, and moved into coaching, specifically with women. I work with women in going through, transformation like this, working through like, what is wrong? What is happening within me? Why do I feel this way? I'm not feeling complete or whole. And then giving them the tools to like unpack it so they can come back to their true essence in their heart.
Very cool.
That makes sense?
It does. Yeah. That's very, very cool. What a crazy journey too.
It has been, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Certainly.
As much as there's been moments when it's been really hard. I mean, the most hardest things I've ever had to go through in my life. You put yourself really outside your comfort zone. I mean, I'm in another country and I speak the language now, but I'm still not fluent. And there's still times that I'm like, and there's cultural differences that, drive you crazy. Like, why should it take 3 months to open a bank account at the bank? Like, why do I wait in line for 30 minutes to check out at the supermarket? Like little things that that's so normal for them. And it's not for me.
Right.
Or just the fact that they're like, why is it that they will say yes? Like, I'm coming to your birthday. And like 50% of them won't show up. And it seems so that seems so disrespectful, but for them, they learned it's disrespectful to say no, that they won't come.
Right.
And it's okay to not show up. So it's so like those little things that you're like, this is so hard, but also like, okay, so why do you do this? Like, what a great opportunity to start learning about another way to be and to feel. And that's the thing. I've learned so much about feeling here. And, Brazilians, we talk about, at least in my foreigner friends, we say Brazilians live from their heart down. I mean, the way they walk and move, they just flow, and they're such heart open people. And we live more, our bottom half is, and especially if you look at the chakras, the bottom 3 chakras are more closed in kind of the Western society, and we live more in our heads and then less in our kind of hearts and our bodies. So when you mold the two, it becomes this beautiful symphony.
Very cool.
That makes sense.
It does. That's actually really, really interesting. So let me take you back to Denver for a moment. So
okay. I'll go back for a visit.
It's a good place to visit.
It is.
And definitely if you want to do a little skiing, you can't get much better. So
I would love to.
So when your boss found you having the panic attack, what were the first things that you thought after you kind of reoriented yourself and kind of got out of the panic attack? What were some of the first thoughts you were having?
I think I was thinking, what's wrong with me? And I'm weak. I judged myself. I'm weak. Pull yourself together. Because I needed to go give a big presentation to our international staff. And I just remember thinking, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? And I felt weak because especially because my boss was so supportive and she wanted to help me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to, I felt like in the first moment I wanted to open up and allow her to help me, because that's what I really needed was support. But then I was like, no, we don't ask for support, because when you ask for support, you're weak. And so I put the tough shell back on. I was like, I can do this kind of thing.
Where did the idea of the tough shell come from?
It definitely comes from my childhood. It definitely comes from my childhood. I think, as children, we perceive things that happen to us. We perceive how the world works through how we see it, right? And our parents are just interacting with us, interacting with each other, interacting with my siblings. And I think there were times when I felt like, especially through my parents' divorce, my mom originally really struggled with it. And I was the one that was there when my dad drove away. My siblings were not there at the time. I was the one, and she grabbed onto me, and I had to be the tough one, and I had to hold her together. Does that make sense? And my mom and I have talked about this. Mm-hmm. So I took on that responsibility. And actually I took on that responsibility for a long time, up until maybe 5 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years ago, when my mom and I had that conversation to say, I'm not the mother anymore in this family. It's not my responsibility to have the conversation with my sister. It's actually your responsibility.
Right.
I'm gonna return that role back to you, and I need to just be your daughter now. And that was a hard transition because my mom and I didn't have awareness that we were playing those roles. So, does that make sense?
And how did that change go?
It was difficult at first because, of course, it's like changing a role in a play, like a theater play. Like, wait, I used to play Sandra. Now I'm Betty. Wait, you know? So it's a little bit of like, we got to remind each other and like, wait, I better stop playing the mother because it's a pattern, you know, and it takes time. If you look at Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, he talks about you've got to repeat the new behavior, the new being until you've kind of mastered it. And that's what my mom and I really had to do.
Get into a new rhythm.
Yep.
Very cool. So you're in Denver, you go down to Brazil, you have a realization, I got to live here. Mm-hmm. What did the people around you say as you started that journey?
Let's see. Some people were like, yep, that's totally you. Because I'm the one that will like, you know, do the skydiving, go off the deep end. Even though I have a lot of fear, like I'm a very fearful person in some ways, but I don't let the fear hold me back. My mother, I will not forget this. She's like, I'm not following you to Brazil because she followed me to Colorado.
Oh,
and I was like, Mom, I'm not sure you can handle Brazil. I don't expect you to follow me. So I had a couple of friends, unfortunately, didn't understand it, and our friendship didn't last because of it. And really? You know, yeah, it's unfortunate that happened, and I think it might have triggered something in them. They felt like I was abandoning them. You know.
Yeah.
And for each their own, you know, especially if you don't do a lot of international travel, and I'm not just saying go on vacation to the Caribbean and stay in an exclusive resort. When you really, you know, go and get to know another culture and see a different part of the world, you don't quite always understand what the attraction is to that. Why do you got to go again? Why do you got, you know? And so, of course, that was hard for me to lose some close friends, but I also wasn't willing to jeopardize my truth. I needed to honor myself and my path.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So you just said you're somebody who has a lot of fears.
Yeah.
You're a single woman who left the United States to go live in another country. How do you deal with the fears?
I know they're there. When I was younger, I would freeze. And my mom, and there's some great things about what she did. She just pushed me. Like literally one time I didn't want to learn to swim. She just threw me in the deep end. Mm-hmm. And so that can throw panic. The same with skiing. I wouldn't be an excellent skier if it wasn't for my mom. I mean, she forced me on the chairlift. And once I did, I was like, oh, I love this. I'll do it again. I was just so afraid. And then as I started to grow older and started to gain a sense of awareness of myself, I realized, wow, I'm really a fearful person. Why is my younger sister has no fear? Like the girl has had a couple concussions, broken legs. And I'm like, I don't push myself that hard. So I started recognizing I had fear and going, no, I want to overcome this. So like the fear of heights was a big one for me for a while. And so I was like, I'm going to overcome this. And I eventually went skydiving. And now I don't have that fear. So I just work through it. I notice it now, and I notice it in my body through my work. Like I notice specifically in my kind of solar plex area, things will get tight, or I'll get butterflies. And I'll just like, okay, I have to ask myself the question, am I unsafe or am I just uncomfortable? I'm uncomfortable. There's not a bear coming at me. No one has a gun to my head. I'm just uncomfortable. Can I sit in the discomfort? Can I be okay with the discomfort? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I move through it. And then I just do it. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, that was so hard.
Very, very cool. So as you were taking that step and ending up down in Brazil, finding the first place to live, all of the little things that were going on, did you have any sense of regret? Did you go, oh dear, what have I done?
No. the day I left, my mom and two dear friends will tell you, like, cried a lot. And I think part of what I've learned about sadness is letting go of something. It's either not working for you or you've lost someone. And I realized I was letting go of my chapter in Denver, at least the start of that process of letting go. And so I cried a lot. But no, when I got here and I went full on running. And I actually picked up running as a sport.
Oh, oh, cool.
I ran a little bit in Colorado, but I really got into running here. But I just wanted to, and I'd been to Rio many times, but I'm like, I live here now. I want to be a part of it. The Olympics were coming, and I actually auditioned for opening ceremonies and got to dance in the opening ceremonies. And
very cool.
I got to the Olympic events. Yeah, it was I met with tons of Brazilians and foreigners and got to go to Carnival and do Samba and things like that. So I kind of went full on running for the most part into the culture as much as I could. And I haven't had any regrets, actually.
Cool.
About it. I still want to be here, which to some people is like, why? Because they're in an economic crisis. I mean, there's a lot of fear here. They have an election, not this weekend. Their presidential election is next weekend. And it's very heated, like it was in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still want to be here.
That's very cool. That's cool that you still want to be there. So you describe yourself as an organized person who likes things arranged and proper. And you're living in a very chaotic culture and a very big city with lots of things going on. How do you reconcile, or how did you reconcile those two things?
I think it's a process of learning to, like, how do you organize through the chaos, first of all, and learning the systems and accepting it. Like, all right, it's crazy when you go to the bank and it'll never be consistent. And so knowing that going in, to having that expectation of, like, you don't know where you're going to get, and just kind of going with the flow a little bit. And also I also had to realize, why do I sometimes need organization? And what I realized was it was about safety and control for me. I think all of us, on a primal level, want to feel safe. And so sometimes when we can have control and we're organized and we know how things will come, then we know what to expect. And so having to be uncomfortable with, like, letting go of that. So letting go of that and realizing I'm going to be a little uncomfortable, and reminding myself I'm still safe. And then it's just a balance. And then figuring out, for instance, we have this move going on. So I know, like, the internet doesn't quite, like, to get the internet organized at my new place. It's not going to be like in the United States where you can call up and they'll have it done within a week. No, you call like a month before to have it arranged. Like, it's just how it works here. Same thing with going for apartment hunting. You start looking 3 to 4 months out. At least, because the process of it and or even maybe even more, and the wait time for people to call you back, like, okay, you just figure out how it works and then you try to work around it. But you have to, like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, we had an apartment and it completely fell through. And I thought, oh my goodness, we have to be out of this apartment. So, like, I got to think quick on my feet. What am I going to do? And it worked out in the end. And it actually worked out better for us. It was a cheaper apartment, bigger, has a backyard for the dog. It's great.
Cool.
So you just kind of ebb and flow through it.
Very, very cool. So one of the things that you mentioned when you were first starting is that you really dove into conscious living. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think, I started to dive into neuroscience, wanted to understand the brain more, got into meditation. Through that, I got really interested in, like, cellular biology, quantum physics, epigenetics. And I do this on the side, basically. I was doing this, like, reading books, going to workshops, participating in seminars, and then in the organization that I was working with before, US Brazil Connect, they have a conscious leadership model that they use from the Conscious Leadership Institute. So the Conscious Leadership Institute is amazing. They have a book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And we started to apply those in the work we were doing. And I fell in love with it. I mean, in love with it. And anyone that knows me in that organization will tell you, like, I was like, I'll spearhead it, how to, take 100% responsibility for your life, have a full body yes, feel your feelings. Because it really resonated with me. And I saw the change that it had in terms of communicating and working with other people and still having, a sense of yourself and owning your emotions, and being still at your truth. And so that's how I really got involved and weaved in it. And I absolutely love it. And I still crave it. What I mean by that is, like, I'm constantly learning more and more, and I'm applying it in the work I do. So like right now I'm reading a book on boundaries, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I look about, how are my boundaries? How did I learn about boundaries? How do I keep boundaries? How do I communicate? How do I practice it? Why are boundaries good? Where do they need to be for me? And I just eat that stuff up. And then I apply it and use it in my work. It's really interesting. So one of the side projects I have here is I work with a baby. He's not quite a baby anymore. He's 16 months, but his parents want him to know English from a native speaker. His mom is French. His dad is Brazilian. But his parents are really open-minded and want their son to just be a free thinker and a free flower. But I also think about now, like, what are his boundaries? Like, if he doesn't want to give me a high five, he doesn't have to give me a high five. Those are his boundaries, and I want to support him in his own boundary growth. So, and it's fun to watch him grow and learn.
That's such a fun age.
I've been working with him since he was 9 months old. Like, I saw his first steps, and now, like, he knows the word light and ball and head, and like, it's just so fun to watch him learn.
Yeah, that age, the acquisition of knowledge and skills is just, you literally can see it develop in front of your eyes.
It isn't. Today he saw me unzipper this little thing, and then he instantly he can't quite figure it out, but he's trying. How does the zipper work? And like looking at it, and it's unbelievable, like watching him do this. And I just let him do it. I don't help him unless he asks for it. And now he knows how to ask for the help. It's just so amazing.
That's very, very cool. Well, I see somebody who's kind of liking her time in Brazil and enjoying it quite a bit. What would have happened if you'd have come back to Denver and gone, this is kind of not the best idea. I better not leave the country.
You mean come back to Denver and stay in Denver?
Instead of starting the journey to start moving toward Brazil.
I mean, if I felt that at that time, like, that's not the best idea, and it really felt like a full body yes, it wasn't fear getting in my way, then I would have just followed that path, because I feel like I follow my heart and my intuition now, as best that I can, what I think is best for me. And again, really feeling like, does this feel like what we calling, conscious living, conscious leadership, a full body yes for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. And I, of course, will ask other people their opinions and thoughts, but in the end, I will still make the choice for me. And I also know who to ask, if that makes sense. I love all of my friends and family, but not all of them are the best advice givers. For me. For them.
What delineates those? How do you delineate who to talk to in those situations?
I think it's based on when I ask them for support on a decision I'm making. Do they give me their opinion from their point of view, or do they try to ask me questions that help me to come up with the answer? Because the answer I already have within me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Or they'll say, I know that this is really important to you, and so have you thought about this? And that for me says they're thinking about me, so they're putting themselves in my shoes versus, I wouldn't do it like that, or I would do it like this, and I know they're coming from there, which is beautiful, and their intention is so good, but it's not what I need. And I try to be that type of person too. It's kind of like when my friend says, do you like this t-shirt or that t-shirt better? And I say, which one do you like better? Which
Right.
one are you going to be most comfortable in? Which one do you feel like brings you the most joy when you wear?
Right.
And it doesn't matter to me. You have to wear it.
That's very, very true. So if you had a chance to go back before that panic attack to the young lady living in Colorado and give her some advice on the journey that she's going to take, would you give her any? And if you would, what would it be?
That's a great question. It's hard because I don't know if I would give her any, because I think as much as the journey's been really at times really hard and challenging, it also needed to be what it needed to be. It's just if I can just hold space for that person, that younger version of myself, and be like, you're going to be okay. This is your journey, and just rock it.
There is nothing wrong with that advice at all.
Thank you.
Very good. I love that, actually. So I'm sure you come into situations, considering you're doing coaching, and have been in leadership, where people around you are looking at making a very radical change, as radical as you did in moving to Brazil. What's the one most important thing that you tell them?
It depends on the person and why. I want to know more about, again, making sure they're making the best decision for them. Is it a full body yes for them? Because I think some people run away from stuff, and so might make a radical change to run away from something and don't realize that they're going to create the same patterns no matter where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that they're like, really like, this is what I need to do and what I want to, and I feel called to do it, then I'm encouraging them to follow their heart and to follow their truth when it really feels like their truth. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So what's next in the journey for you? You love Brazil. You're staying in Brazil. Do you see any changes coming other than you're moving to a couple of weeks or a couple of days?
No, right now I feel really grounded in Brazil. I really feel like I belong here. I'm starting to create a really strong community that is very supportive and loving, which is something that is important to me. I've been here, it will be almost 3 years, almost 3 years and living here. I've been living here almost 3 years in a couple of weeks, so mid-October.
Cool.
I would like to eventually move to the southern part of the country, where winter is a little cooler. As you know, living in Colorado, it's dry there, and here it's hot and humid. So, as I told you earlier, my hair is like a chia pet. And I still want the city feel, but I want a little bit more, like there's a lot of nature here in Rio, which is really nice. It's got not just the oceans, but the mountains. The mountains are like pretty much right up against the ocean. But I want a little bit more sense of peace, because like I said, it is chaotic here. And I really would like to have a little farm. And I could have people come where I could do retreats, because I eventually became a Reiki master, a yoga teacher. And I want to be able to have a space where people can come and do, really kind of intense workshops.
Nice.
With a farm where we're growing our own food and all that kind of stuff. That really attracts me and feels good. So
that is awesome. I love that.
I don't see myself coming back to the US. And it's really surprising. And I haven't, when I think about another country, I want to visit, of course, still travel and visit other countries. So I still do that because I love exploring and learning, but I'm still here, and that could change. And I'm open to that. But right now, that's kind of where I see myself going.
Well, I want to know when the farm is available for visitors. So
yes,
you have to come down. That sounds wonderful.
You're welcome.
Very.
I love to cook. So.
Oh, very good. Yep. I'll be on my way.
I used to not like to cook. That's also a new change. And I've taken on a lot of cooking since I've done here, especially because here they don't have as much prepared and processed foods. I mean, when you want to make like hummus, you get the chickpeas dry. You have to soak them, overnight, then cook them, and the whole process. So you want to make an apple pie, you make that pie crust from scratch. You make the apple filling from scratch. Pumpkin pie is the same thing. I mean, from the pumpkin.
So is the food better when it's made from scratch and not prepared?
I think it is. And I'm one of the things is I've lost a ton of weight and I feel so much better because I'm know where my food comes from. I make it myself. And I still love, I'm a foodie, so I still love all the flavors and whatnot. So I just learned how to make them.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. So from somebody that's taken quite a journey in life and headed in a path that I'm guessing when you were a little girl, a lot of people would not have predicted you would be here where you are today.
That's true.
What's the most important thing in life?
Oh, I think to follow your path, to follow your heart.
Very cool.
You know, really to follow your truth. That's what I've learned. And as much as it's hard and the expectations of others and society and culture and your family, always coming back. And the hardest thing is listening to it, because we've got so many other voices that have been in our heads for so many years. And so getting them out and going, okay, what is my path? What is my truth?
Mm-hmm.
And then coming at life with love, even when it's hard.
Oh, say more about that.
Like, you know, when I think about going through a breakup now, I still want to, like, even when it's a challenge, that breakup, I still want to show so much love and compassion for the person and for myself. So even if it's hard and I'm grieving and I feel really hurt, I still want to have love for myself. Or if I even did something wrong, still have love and compassion for myself and for the other person, because we're all human. We all have a heart. We're not perfect. And we all, you know, need to just be loved and accepted at where we're at. Does that make sense?
It not only makes sense, it's absolutely beautiful.
No,
So
thank you.
Thank you. So if somebody wanted to learn a little bit more about you, or if they were in Brazil and wanted to be able to contact you or contact you from anywhere, what are the best ways to get a hold of you?
So I think one easy way is my website, and it's my first name, Kerri-Ann.com, which KERRI-ANN.com. But then also Facebook. So I have a Facebook business page, and it's again Kerri-Ann Appleton. And then if there's any women out there that are interested in joining my Facebook group, a tribe of women that really want to kind of create a passionate life that they really love living, I have a group that's really active. I post in there pretty daily, both with engaging stuff as well as giving them value on how to really create, you know, a life that's from their heart and from their truth. I feel really called, which is really surprising to me, to work with women. And I say it's surprising because for so long I wasn't quite kind of on the feminine bandwagon. But as I've come into my own heart and truth, I just realized so many women need support with, you know, finding their truth and speaking their truth right now. So that's why I feel called to work with women. So Facebook
Awesome.
And my website. Yeah.
Okay. We'll make sure that those links get up with this conversation so that
Thank you.
Cool. Well,
Appreciate that.
I really appreciate all the time today that you spent with me.
I appreciate your time. This is amazing what you're doing and sharing these stories. So thank you.
I'm having a blast. I'm meeting so many awesome people, including you. I mean, the hardest
thing sounds amazing. You have a great job.
Yeah, it's just I need tons of money so I can like have these conversations, because there's so many people that I'm like, I just need to get on an airplane and go visit. Just want to go sit down and have a meal, or do something. It's just so cool how many wonderful people I'm getting to meet with this project.
You'll get there. Just keep going. Keep
Oh
going.
yeah, I absolutely am going to. So so I always wrap up with one question, and it's the same question, which is, what question did I forget to ask you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's a question that you forgot to ask me. I always think of silly questions like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor or something?
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
I think I don't eat ice cream anymore. Well, I do. I eat vegan ice cream because I have a lactose problem. But I would say they have this great vegan ice cream here. It's made with banana, but it's a chocolate one. I would say chocolate. And if I could have it with chocolate with peanut butter, because they don't really do the peanut butter thing here so much, that would be like epic for me.
Very, very cool. Well, I'll have to see if I can somehow get chocolate peanut butter ice cream to you at your farm.
I think in the States you have coconut bliss, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a coconut base. Yeah, and it's pretty divine. Here they're just starting to get on the bandwagon of this lactose-free kind of, vegan stuff for those of us that have lactose problems.
Yeah, it's turning in from, just a couple of things on the freezer shelf to a couple of doors in the supermarket. With
We're overtaking the world. Yes.
Slowly but surely. Well, very cool. Well, Kerri-Ann, thank you so much for the time today. I really, really appreciate it, and wish you all the best of luck. And I can hardly wait to come see the farm someday.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Or we say here, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.